What is up, everybody? It is your boy Farai. Thank you once again for tuning into another video. Hopefully having a great day. Today I'm going to be showing you, some new tricks and ways to mix your vocals in 2022. Kind of allow you to kind of get into my head and look at some techniques that I've been making use of. I've had some time off mixing, enjoyed the December holidays. Hopefully you did too. It's important to rest your ears, take in new music, chill out, go sit outside, enjoy the nature, enjoy the panning of nature. You know what I mean? That really will make you a better mixer. But yeah, man, we're gonna get into some content. I recorded a cool song just to start the year off, just to have something to work on, and yeah, you can check out this FLP in the description if you like it. If you like the techniques that you see in this video, is a little bit different from my traditional setup. We will obviously get back to full scale content now this year. But yeah, man, definitely check out the links in the description. Vocal mixing course, vocal recording course, vocal enhancer for FL Studio. You get the idea. We'll play the track quickly and then yeah, we'll really get into it. But yeah, I will say probably this year, especially 2022, I think that you as an artist, you as an engineer, should figure out different ways to work, especially if you're running a studio or if you're recording songs week in and week out. It's very important to have a workflow that can kind of get you that song up front. And I've kind of been using this template to record other demo tracks, and I've really enjoyed it. So hopefully you can take something from this video that'll help you increase your workflow. So let's get into it.
Counting up racks, we need them racks now. Yeah. Put ice in my cup, I sippin' lean now. Yeah. Came from the gutter, but we getting money now. Used to ignore her, but she wanna find me now. Chopping down the block, yeah, yeah. In that brand new Benz, icing on my neck, yeah, yeah. It's all icy, yeah. Grinding for my check, yeah, yeah. Grinding for my check. Stripper, get her away, yeah, yeah. Get her away, yeah. These boys fell off, I kept it 100. Blow bag, yeah, this shit is not hot boy, yeah, the way that I'm stunning. Plug talk, yeah, I think that I'm Tony. 100 band, yeah. The realest girls come straight out the hood. Come walk in my shoes, you wish you could. I see like, damn boy, you do it good. Cooler now, yeah, I stay on the low. Sometimes it's better just doing a solo. Can't stress like I want a lot. Switch to sweet, I'm rolling gelato. Yeah, I'm counting up racks, we need them racks now. Yeah, put ice in my cup, I'm sippin' lean now.
Alrighty, there you go. You get the idea. Really cool, really kind of dark tone. Definitely, towards the end of the year, we started hearing a lot of music get more dark. So I wanted to kind of give you an example that would fit into, something that you could work with if you are making kind of up-to-date music. But yeah, man, just to kind of summarize what I think a lot of 2022 music is going to sound like. It's going to be a little bit darker, less kind of treble popping out. You're seeing a lot more beats that are kind of 808 heavy, right? That's why I chose this beat. And then we're also seeing that kind of over compressed sound become a thing. It kind of gives a character. We'll talk about the mastering in this track. I think I've used quite a unique kind of method of working. But yeah, let's get straight into it. Yeah, I've made use of this free plugin. This is Eminence. This is a free plugin from Acoustica that you can check out. I've just done a plugin review of it. You need to download their software, and then you can pretty much download this from the download manager. Really cool, replicating this old school EMI device, and that is kind of scattered all over the plugin. To kind of give us an analog tone. I didn't mix this track to the console, so I wanted some sort of channel strip plugin with an EQ and a compressor that I could kind of add on to the vocal, add on to the beat. So that's really the kind of essential aspect of this template, is we want to make sure that we kind of have that really nice kind of, deep sounding analog tone, but we're also making use of the best of digital to really help us get that kind of crushed upfront sound that people are very used to. So yeah, man, let's get straight into the vocal mix. I know that's what you're here for. So we got the main vocal right here, on the hook, and then on the verse we got a little verse as well. And what I'm really doing on it is, auto-tune, obviously that's not going anywhere, right? Well, at least for me, of course. And yeah, I'm not using the retune or the natural vibrato cut. I always used to do that trick, but in this track I'm not really doing that. Just keeping a nice kind of tight retune speed, not really going too crazy, literally not manipulating at all. Just making sure that we have the key synchronized to the beat so that we get that good auto-tune sound. From there on out, instead of using a lot of SSL EQ. This time around, I decided to try out just the parametric EQ. And this is what I've come up with, right? All I'm really doing is trimming away a lot of that kind of bottom end, 142 and below, just a nice kind of 12 dB per octave slope, cutting off some of that bass, some of that gunk, just to help us kind of clean up that vocal, allow us to kind of blend in with the beat. So essential, right? And then I'm really just working on, remember this, man, this is what I talk about in the vocal recording courses. You want to make sure that your recordings are good enough to where you don't have to tweak and cut and fix, and you know what I mean. You want it to sound at least 60 to 70% there. You want all of that to be there before you really want to open up an EQ. You know what I mean. Rather work on your vocal sound before you start putting up an EQ, right? But really just kind of minimal cuts, dB cuts, 2 dB cuts, right? We want to keep that tone of the vocal there, right? That natural tone. From there on out, generally with SSL EQ, I'll do like a 3000 hertz boost. Here I'm just doing like a little bit of a, just just kind of pop that vocal out, get a bit more of that kind of, that kind of intelligence there, right? I always call it intelligibility. So there you go, that's what we're doing. And then again, just doing a nice little 13,000 hertz boost, really light stuff. And then just doing a little bit of a treble poke. I actually had this way higher up. Let's see what it sounds like if I push this up to where it was originally.
I'm cutting up racks, we need them racks now. Put ice in my cup, I sip and lead now. Came from the gutter, but we getting money now.
And then I also have this dynamic EQ just kind of kicking in whenever kind of maybe I move forward or something. So you can see we're almost mastering our vocal, right? We're almost doing just a little bit of a kind of, sculpting on it, right? So there we go. That's what we're doing with the EQ. From then on out, what I pull up is this SSL EQ. Now, because as I said, I think in the other video, I'm not mixing to the console today, so I really want to still get that SSL console sound. And this plugin right here is going to allow me to get that SSL sound. I'm using it in mono, so I can just kind of keep the vocal tucked in the middle of the mix and allow that beat to kind of sit on the side. We will talk about how we widen the track as well. But really, I'm just doing no EQ, actually, nothing really. Just using the SSL tone, do you know what I mean? Not even any compression, nothing. Just kind of running it through there just to get a bit of a sound, right? That's all we need sometimes. So if I was to turn off these two plugins.
I'm cutting up racks, we need them racks now. Put ice in my cup, I sip and lead now. Came from the gutter, but we getting money now.
You can see how that kind of low mid end is really kind of popping out, you know what I mean? And that's where this EQ comes in. Just, trimming away some of that kind of low end fixes the vocal up so much, and it allows all of this to breathe. It allows everything to pop through nicely on the speakers. So, really focus on your vocal tone, the way that you are kind of presenting your voice to the vocal mic. So yeah, there we go. After that, I used a little bit of Flanger. Now I love this Air Flanger right here. I would highly recommend checking out this Air bundle. You can get them on sale. All of these plugins for like $20 once in a while. You get all of these plugins. These are basically plugins that Pro Tools weren't going to relicense, so you will actually find a few of these Air plugins on Pro Tools native. But yeah, these used to be on Pro Tools, so these are really nice plugins, and they're now available in VST format. So there you go, beautiful stuff. Again, this Eminence plugin, we have talked about this in the previous video, but I'm just using this plugin to really kind of blend everything in the mix and give it that analog tone, give it that warmth, that kind of, fatness that you get when you mix to a console, right? You can't beat that, but with this plugin, you can really get that tone. So, if I really turn it off on the most important things, right, or the most important elements in the mix, you can kind of hear how different it sounds, right? So we've turned it off on the beat, turned it off on the vocal. Let's listen.
I'm cutting up racks, we need them racks now. Put ice in my cup, I sip and lead now.
Right, two things. We can hear how the vocal sounds a bit less kind of high fidelity. We can also hear how the low end of the beat suddenly starts to pump too much. Doesn't sound really good, right? So really what we're doing is we gain staging very slightly and doing a little bit of minimal compression on both elements just to kind of tuck everything in. And we're making use of this preamp emulation right here. To me, this is probably the most important thing right here. It sounds really good. We're also using the stereo spread on both. So I'm actually spreading that flanger sound a little bit just to kind of help the vocal kind of blend into the beat. And then we're also spreading those pianos on the track just to kind of get that track to sound much more hazy, much more kind of, ominous or whatever. But yeah, sounds really good, right?
I'm cutting up racks, we need them racks now. Put ice in my cup, I sip and lead now. Came from the gutter, but we getting money now.
I don't know what it is, but I get this really nice, almost 3D sounding clipping of the 808, and it really makes it sound like I am pushing it through the console. So I highly recommend you get this plugin. It is 100% free. So there we go. You know, again, on the vocal, we're doing a 10K boost, right? Just a slight kind of nudge on the vocal EQ. And then we're doing quite a 7K boost right here. Now, generally with EQs, you don't really get away with doing this. But with this kind of tone of the EQ, you're really able to do that. So, you know, 7K boost just to kind of lift the vocal up, give it that kind of fidelity sound without making it sound too harsh. And then we're just kind of cutting away a bit of 60 hertz. And that's giving us our sound, right? Nothing too crazy. So that's pretty much the vocal, main vocal. On the vocal bus, we're using my old chain on every vocal bus. I'll still revert back to using these old plugins because I just think it kind of finalizes every vocal sound. I'm doing a little bit of SSL bus compression just to kind of help the vocal tuck back, blend in with all the background vocals, and then we're just doing a little bit of limiting to make sure that the track kind of, there's a mosquito in here, just to make sure that the vocal, I kind of use this at the end of the mix just to kind of make sure that the vocal is sounding good and leveled with the beat. So I'll kind of use that as the kind of leveler or limiter, just to set the overall vocal level of kind of the whole mix, right? So yeah, there we go. Background vocals, we got this kind of cool dark doubler. This is for all the punk rap guys. I wanted to add this in right here, you know. So as you can see right there. So if I was to turn off this kind of distortion chain we have going on, we kind of got like a yeet sound, but then once we turn everything on, we go at like full crazy, right? So, you know, you can mix and match and see what you like. Again, this is kind of catering to the newer sounding vocals, you know, a lot of the underground stuff. So, you know, a lot of customizability available. But the way that I achieved this distortion, obviously we got our auto tune, but the way that I achieved the distortion is to this air distortion plugin. I think this sounds really cool. Really nice sounding kind of preamp distortion right here. You can also pre-shape it so you can actually make it sound a bit darker. So, and then make it sound a bit brighter. Obviously, we've got so much EQ that we're not really getting that full effect. But again, you can use this. Then we're using a bit of flanger, right? Easy to use. And then we're using the stereo width. And this is just kind of spreading it, making it really wide, right? So really cool. Then we're using the eminence just to tone it and kind of give it that analog console fatness. A little bit of EQ just to trim away some of that top end. Just do some crazy things to make it blend in with the mix. So, you know, you can obviously change this how you like. And then a little bit of exciter. And this is just adding a little bit more delay and kind of high end fidelity. And, you know, it kind of just sounds like a amplifier kind of guitar type thing, right? So yeah, we have that going for us. We also have these kind of reverb splashes or kind of saucy ad-libs that pop in and out of the mix. I think somewhere over here, you know, it sound cool. So there you go, right there. Just the kind of reverb splash. You know, a lot of people ask me, how can I get cleaner sounding reverby vocals? Well, I'll show you, right? Right, you can kind of just sing into it. It's gonna sound good, right? So auto-tune, obviously, right? Same auto-tune as everything else. Flanger, right? Can't go wrong with using a bit of flanger. And then I'm using this Korg MDEX. Shout out to Akame, because he's one of the few who actually took my advice and got this plugin, and he absolutely loves it. And his mixes sound great, so shout out to you, man. But yeah, a little bit of reverb hole. This is literally the default preset right here, concert hall, I think it is. And then I just blend it in how I like. I mess with the wet and dry, so I have a little bit of the dry signal still existing. 20-second pre-delay, nothing crazy. But the EQs is what you want to blend with, right? So you want to make sure that you're kind of toning down the top end so it doesn't sound too harsh. I think a darker sounding reverb sounds a bit more natural. It also allows it to fit behind the mix instead of kind of taking over the kind of main spot in the mix. We've got this kind of long reverb time going, so it gives you this end result. Very nice, very high fidelity. But again, the recording sounds good, right? With this, just with this sounds good, you know. You know, with that flanger. Right? Can you hear how good the recording is, right? We don't really need to do much, you know, fixing. We just want to add on, right? Beautiful stuff. And yeah, that adds a really nice vibe to our track. Kind of just listen to it in the background. Yeah. Put ice in my cup, I sipping lead now. Yeah. Came from the gutter, but we really just in the background. Remember, I did a video on how to mix background vocals, and I talked about how if you were to look at sound in a box, In this box, the main vocal is kind of here, but then those background vocals are kind of right there, just sitting under the mix. Just listen again.
Put ice in my cup.
Right, if we turn it up, it kind of comes up a bit.
Put ice in my cup.
So there you go. Really cool, really simple to use. What I've actually done here was I had two background doublers, and I wanted to do something crazy with them. I've kind of gotten bored of just doing stock doublers, so I decided to kind of create these kind of grunge doublers and then pan them a bit differently, EQ them a little bit differently, and you end up with this really cool effect. So just listen to those. And then obviously I have distorted one of them. But yeah, it just gives a sound. Again, you don't have to use the distortion, but you can use a similar technique and just kind of level them how you like. One trick is to kind of pan or level one less, so have one be louder, and then you kind of get this interesting sound, almost like a guitar mix, right?
Down the block, in that brand new Benz. I sit on my neck,
Right, kind of gives you that kind of yeet effect. So yeah, really cool, simple and sweet, man. We don't want to be going too crazy. Analog stuff I have used. I will create emulations for this in the template. Again, check out the F3000 emulation that is emulating the sound of this box.
Down the block, in that brand new Benz. I sit on my neck, it's so icy,
Right, that sounds really nice, right? And that is basically just a flanger plugin. And then I also have my old Yamaha, what is it called again? The XPX 990, which I got from a church in America. And it's just kind of like a cool analog or digital analog reverb. And it just gives you a nice splashy reverb sound. And when you mix that together with the main vocal,
up and down the block, in that brand new Benz. Icing on my neck, it's so icy, grinding for my check, grinding for my check. Up and down the block, in that brand new Benz. Icing on my neck,
right? It really just adds in that extra 3-4%. So yeah, I'm sure you're pretty interested in the mastering section. So what I'm doing is, and I'll do this in the template for you as well, so you get some of that extra secret sauce. But I'm running this mix through my mix chain or my mastering chain, and that has a kind of FET limiter, right? A stereo pair or a stereo setup of Daking compressors. Now basically these are just some really interesting style compressors. Basically I use it just to kind of tuck the 808 a little bit, just to kind of blend the rest of the mix in, but most importantly I get a certain color out of these compressors. So saturation, think saturation as the first thing that happens, and then a little bit of glue, and then we run that into the SSL Fusion. And I'm really not doing much with the Fusion. I'm doing a slight kind of bass lift and then a slight treble lift. So the bass lift is at 30 Hertz, right? Just doing a little bit of a push on the track just to give it a little bit of kind of like warmth. And then I'm doing a 20,000 Hertz boost, about a dB on both, half a dB on both, and just a little bit of stereo width. So just think of using like a S1 image or something like that, just to kind of get a bit more flavor. And then I'm also using the SSL bus compressor. You can't see it because it's behind the light, but it does. Let's see.
down the block, in that brand new Benz. Icing on
It's literally just going dum, 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 and it's pretty much doing a dB of compression, right? So I'm using something, SSL bus compressor. It's really just doing a dB, but it really just helps to glue the track together. So once that comes into the mix, you can see it goes out of the computer back in. It comes back in here, so it leaves out here, comes back in here.
down the block, in that brand new Benz.
Right? I then begin the stage of mastering. And what I'm doing essentially is I'm just doing a little bit of ozone kind of stereo width. For some reason, I just felt like this track would sound really cool for just like kind of borderline phasing. But it just gives a nice vibe to the track. That's just a noise that's coming in, right? Because analog has noise, right? But yeah, just a little bit of imaging. I'm fixing the 808 because, my mastering chain does kind of skew the low end a little bit. So just fixing that, make sure that the 808 sounds good. So kind of just, focusing the track on this mid-range right here,
down the block, in that brand new Benz. Icing on my neck,
You know what I mean? It just helps the vocal to kind of cut through. Then I'm using this free plugin, which is Air Windows Tape. In my opinion, this is, again, the best sounding free or the best sounding tape plugin there is. I've messed with all of them, man. The expensive stuff, acoustic. I've messed with the UAD tape stuff. I don't like any of it, okay? This just, to me, does something that I like, right? Does it sound exactly like tape? Probably not, right? Actually, we worked with the company a while ago, but they do the kind of online mix analog, I think was the company we worked with, and they have really cool, you can actually run your audio through their equipment for like $10 a month or something like that, and it sounds really good as well. But this is cool if I just want to quickly slap a tape plugin on. I'm using the slam function, which kind of boosts the bass a little bit, and then the bump function, which just does a little bit of a warming effect, and it sounds really good. If I was to turn it off,
down the block, yeah, yeah, in that brand new Benz. Icing on my neck, yeah, yeah, it's so icy, yeah. Grinding for my check, yeah.
And that's kind of where I get a little bit of that loudness, additional loudness. Remember, we don't just want to make use of the limiters to kind of boost the loudness, right? And then I'm using a Avalon. Funny enough, right? I was actually using a Neve summing amp, and then my plugin broke, man. I was using the Nebula 3, and then the plugin broke, so I had to find something else. But I originally had a Neve preamp kind of thing going on, but right now I'm using the Avalon. For those who don't know, and Avalon do actually have a few mastering processes. A lot of mastering engineers use them. One person on YouTube is Streaky Mastering. I know he has a Avalon EQ and compressor, I think. But yeah, it sounds really good. A lot of mastering engineers use it, and I'm just using the preamp number 2. It's just kind of adding a little bit of shine onto the track. See if you can hear anything. Really minimal.
Down the block, yeah, yeah, in that brand new Benz. Icing on my neck, yeah, yeah, it's so icy, yeah. Grinding for my check, yeah, yeah.
Just adds a little bit of that kind of richness, that hi-fi sound. Yeah, that's pretty much it. And funny enough, man, I'm actually using the Prince technique. I know that's crazy, right? Using a flanger on the master track, right? Absolutely crazy. But Prince's engineer, man, she's a female. She's a very cool chick. And she did an interview where she was actually talking about how Prince would have them run the final mixes out of the console into like chorus pedals, right, that he had for his guitars, and then use like minimal amounts of it to get this kind of widened sound. And once in a while I try it, right? So I wanted to just enjoy the process of mixing in this track, so I tried it out and I actually quite like it. So see if you can hear anything.
Down the block, yeah, yeah, in that brand new Benz. Icing on my neck, yeah, yeah, it's so icy, yeah. Grinding for my check, yeah.
Just minimal, just kind of smoothing out the vocal, giving it a bit more of kind of a tape sound. And then I'm just limiting the track right here. I'm just making sure I'm getting it kind of between, you know, -12 and minus kind of 6 LUFS, right?
Down the block, yeah, yeah, in that brand new Benz. Icing on my neck, yeah, yeah, it's so icy, yeah. Grinding for my check, yeah, yeah.
So, you know, going for kind of like -8.6, you know what I mean, LUFS is going to work. And you know, that kind of sounds good all around the track. What I've actually done is, because things get so loud while the drums are playing, softer parts of the track actually get a bit more loud, right? Because the compressors aren't working as hard. So it's important to actually turn down certain parts of the track manually. That's why I've kind of turned these into unique clips and then adjusted the volume of these manually. That way everything sounds consistent, right?
Yeah, the boys fell off, I kept it 100. Blow back, yeah, this shit is none. Hot boy, yeah, the way that I'm stunning. Plug talk, yeah, I think that I'm Tony.
But yeah, you get the idea. So yeah, that's pretty much all we're doing on this track. We're doing a bit of reverb. I'm using a kind of Korg delay. For some reason, I'm really liking these MDX plugins. These are emulating a lot of the kind of 80s Japanese sounds, right? So the MDX plugin is quite it's $20, I think. You can buy it from Korg. And yeah, they've got reverbs, they've got delays, they've got modulation that all emulate a lot of their old school kind of gear, you know? So yeah, really cool. Delay, just using a nice little delay that runs in the background of the track. Got this little bit of flanger going on the main vocal.
The boys fell off, I kept it 100. Blow back, yeah, this shit is none.
So that mixes in with the H3000. Then we also have this delay that's automated, so it pops in the track right here. And then a little bit of parallel compression. But yeah, I've made a video on that. So yeah, man, that's pretty much it. Definitely check out the link for this FLP. I definitely think that if you're doing a lot more dark, hazy type music, this template is gonna be beneficial to you. If you're a recording artist that want that kind of darker stuff, then this is gonna work as well. But yeah, sounds good. You know, you can check the FLP, as I said, in the description. Check out the vocal recording course if you want to learn how to record better, so that you can get better sounding dry recording, so that you can actually mix your records without having to add in a million EQs. Mixing course as well if you want to learn my process, learn my template format, etc, etc. Hope you have a great day. Keep mixing, keep working, keep pioneering. I'll check you out next time. Peace out.